How did it go yesterday?
It went great. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of these decisions come down to ideological views of the judges, and that's something we always have to struggle with. There were 15 on the panel, but the questions were very friendly to us in many respects, and even the hostile questions we had good answers for. The case boils down to, Megyn, a motion to dismiss. These girls haven't even had the right to go to court yet. So that's what this issue is about, is whether they can even have their case heard. They've never even been heard on the merits, which is that girls should be able to compete on a level playing field. So we're anxious to be able to assert the legal theories that we have because we know they're right, and hoping that the Second Circuit will allow us to do that.
Isn't the standard to get around the mootness objection? Like this case is moot. They graduated, something like likely to repeat itself, likely to repeat yet incapable of review, or something like that. Like, in other words, the fact that this is likely to keep happening should allow it to be heard.
That is one of the exceptions to the muteness doctrine, but we don't even need to rely on that exception. The important point here is that these girls filed their lawsuit when they were in high school. And what's egregiously wrong with the way the trial judge handled it, among other things, is that he waited 14 months from the time that we filed the complaint to dismiss the case after they graduated, is when he took action. What a
coward.
Yes,
right,
and never did rule on the merits. So under the law, the issue is whether essentially we have ongoing harm. Until those records are corrected, we have an injury, and that's what you're required to demonstrate in the law. An injury that can be redressed. They can fix those records, and they need to do so. In addition to that, they've certainly lost the podium spots and the opportunities, but they can't even put that they were winners on their resumes, for example, for job opportunities. So we feel strongly and believe that the Second Circuit will vindicate the right of these girls to go to court. And that's really what's at issue as a first step.
One of the annoying things, Chelsea and Alanna, in reading the case is how the court and the ACLU, which is representing the other side, come out with, she won. Look at Chelsea won this. Alanna won this. What do you mean? They were winners. They did have the opportunity to win. As if you managed to pull out a W in one race, it should be enough. That, who cares if it was an unfair race in 10 others? I wonder how you felt reading that. I'll start with you on that, Chelsea, about how, look, you did win. And in fact, the court accepted that. The Second Circuit wrote, plaintiffs simply have not been deprived of a, quote, chance to be champions.
Well, I mean, there were 4 state championships where I should have been at the top of the podium, but instead that honor went to a male. And in the races that I did win, those were still unfair races. And there were girls that still lost opportunities in those races because of the biological males in that race. And so it doesn't really matter. We need our records fixed to reflect what actually happened in the race. And that is not what they currently say.
One of the other things, Alanna, that the ACLU is pointing out is you both did go on to race in college and obtain scholarships too, from what I read. And so what are you complaining about? Like, just, you didn't lose anything.
Well, like Chelsea said, we did win a few times, but it's bigger than just me and her and the other girls involved. In the case, it's about the girls that didn't get to advance to other meets and didn't get scholarships. And so it's just about doing it for future generations of women and just making sure that we don't become sidelined in our own sport.
Mm-hmm. Megyn,
Kristen.
I'll just point out on that alone, as Chelsea said, she lost out on 4 state championships. Those boys, 2 boys in a 3-year period, took 15 state championships and set 17 state records. I mean, just think about that. And 85 times they displaced girls. So it's not just about the other girls. It is about Chelsea. It is about Alanna. We don't know what scholarships they could have gotten had Chelsea gotten all of the state championships that she should have been rightly awarded. We don't know that. What we do know is that those records are wrong, that it was unfairly administered in terms of the rules, and that they need to fix it. So I think that it's such
right.
an
There's a
important
difference
issue.
between winning this one and winning that one and looking like FloJo to the colleges who are doing the recruiting. And the entrance of 2 biological males into your competition may have been the line between you and those 2 places.
Exactly. I mean, there is a difference between 10 state championships and 1. We know that intuitively.
Mm-hmm. But now this whole thing, Kristen, comes down to whether Title IX, which protects girl sports, includes those who identify as girls. Gender identity, is that included in the word sex? You know, your biological sex would used to protect you when it came to women's sports. And now under, I think it's Connecticut state law, and certainly the policy governing the public schools, sex includes gender identity, somebody who identifies as female. So what is that? Does that require the Second Circuit Court of Appeals to say those are invalid interpretations of Title IX?
They are invalid interpretations. What we know Title IX was intended to do was to ensure that both sexes, the two sexes, have equal opportunities, equal benefits. And the regulations under that even say that includes that girls should be able to compete based on their competitive abilities, based on their skill sets. They shouldn't have to essentially have less competitive races that their brothers have, for example. And so that's how Title IX has always applied. And it's how I believe it will continue to apply when we eventually win this issue.
There are many states who have a law like this. Connecticut has a law saying you can race according to your gender identity. I think it's 29 states. So if this case were to go all the way up to the Supreme Court, we could be changing law in a lot of places. Your thoughts on it?
Well, there are 21 states that actually have taken action to ensure that males can't compete against women. They recognize the truth that men and women are different, that the physical advantages are different, and they can't be overcome simply through supplemental hormones. And so states are recognizing that. 21, just I think as the last count was just a few months ago, where 21 states have protected it. But ultimately, this comes down to a federal law question as well. It's kind of a belt and suspenders approach, you might say. And the question is, does Title IX require, the other side saying it requires men to compete as women? And our position is no, Title IX requires that you give women and girls equal opportunities and fair play. And so that's the final question that will need to be decided by the Supreme Court. And it hasn't decided that question yet.
The two biological males who decided to run against you girls, I mean, the case of Terry Miller is particularly shocking. Did you both race against Terry Miller?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so can you tell us the story of Terry Miller and what happened with Terry Miller when he was racing against you girls as part of the girls team?
Yeah, so my sophomore year, actually, Terry raced on the boys team in the indoor season, and then in the outdoor season switched to the girls team. And Terry, I'm not sure the exact number, but Terry was blowing us girls out of the water. I mean, I remember at the state open championship in the 100 meters.
Is this Terry in the red?
Yes.
Okay.
Terry won by like over half a second to the second biological male, and then me and the other female finishers were after them. But the both of them just blew us out of the water consistently.
Mm-hmm. And that's amazing because you have the same person racing as a boy and a girl within a few month period. So, I mean, Alanna, help us non-athletes understand what that feels like when you show up there and you're at the, starting point and you look over and there's a biological boy or two who you now know you're going to have to try to beat.
Yeah, it was so frustrating because I used to spend hours a day at track practice just to shave off, tenths of a second, hundredths of a second. Track's a sport where just like a little bit of time off is huge. And it was just so frustrating to line up and just feel like I was racing for second place. And even if I was trying my hardest, I knew that I wasn't going to get the top spot. And then just to know that me and the other girls we didn't have a level playing field.
Maybe you've heard me talk about Waggoner Private Wine Partnership. Their rare Malbecs are incredible. If you enjoy a glass of wine, try these wines from the extreme altitudes of Argentina. The flavor is unlike any other. Blackberry, leather, smoke, little dark cherry. And these wines are nearly impossible to get on your own. The producers deep in the Andes Mountains make limited quantities. The best part? They have cut out the middleman. You will not deal with a big markup. Today, I've got a great offer for you. If you visit bonnerprivatewines.com/MKS, that's BONNER, privatewines.com/MKS, you will not only get the wine for over 50% off, plus free shipping, you'll also get a bonus bottle of small batch limited production wine from their exclusive wine cellar. That's 4 bottles for the price of 3. It's a deal that's hard to turn down if you are a wine lover like I am. Just visit Bonner, Bonner, privatewines.com/MKS to claim your bonus bottle and become a part of America's most unique wine club. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.